Is the best crypto influencer here, Don Kryptonium, and the best developer in Cosmos ecosystem, Jacob Gadikan.
I
Best validator,
maybe,
the
but I'm not the best
validating
developer.
legend.
Wait. Let's go back. Let's take a few steps back. I employ better developers than you. Okay,
I know,
I'm a history
I know.
teacher.
Oh, actually, I spoke to some people before because like you were like shilling how many contributions you did, and I
Mm-hmm.
spoke to some developers and they're like, yeah, he does, but there is a lot of these contributions are like very minor, like they are
They're
not
right.
like really big one,
Yeah.
like
Well,
the big, but there's like some minor.
they're wrong.
What do you say to
But
them?
well, yeah. Actually, what I say is, who are they?
It's secret. I'm not gonna expose. Like I mean, it's not a problem. Like I was no, should I say it?
Of course.
So like this was without me under like I think it was the Stay Club guy. You are not friends, I know. He was like yeah, he contributes, but a lot of these contributions are minor. Um so
But wait, the Steak Lab guy. I kind of like the Steak Lab guy.
but you were arguing in the past, and then I was speaking about
Yeah.
contributions before we started with my partner Josh at TED Crypto, and he says like I that he's seen the contributions on GitHub. A lot of them are like he was not cheating, but he says like people don't understand the contribution, and a lot of that are very small things, but the numbers add up, right? So it
Oh
looks
yeah. Well,
better,
I
but
mean, if
yeah.
but the thing is, if you're active on a code base, you will have large and small commits. It's just normal.
Yeah.
Um, damn. No, is that going on? Hi, audience. That's really effing interesting.
So Jacob, I just recorded the
Patrick,
video.
about
And
5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. Not long. 2 minutes,
um
36 seconds, Patrick. Yeah, sure.
I would do you think we should start with the with Comdex, but I would like to bring the because I just made the video and it's not really Comdex issue. It is the airdropped distributed token issue. Because in order to fund the project, you have to use the community as your liquidity. And you see, in regards of Juno had a lot of already big working team of free contributors, and they fund a lot
Well,
of that
Juno,
by being
let's
developer.
just be clear, okay? Juno was 1 year's work before release. Okay. Um, I think I joined in about the second month. Uh, and yeah, I mean, it was just a ton of work, tons. So, what am I trying to say here? I believe that what I'm trying to say here is that, like,
Mama and Papa in the background, if you hear.
constantly listing over and over all day, spamming the live feed. Some of these NFTs are involved
But
in the
yeah,
same.
let's stick to the Juno first.
JG,
I mean
JG.
the
Let's stop. I know how to help JG. Okay, yo, JG. You're right. It probably is a validator. That's effing crazy stuff. Now it's easy to figure out which one. Okay, I want you to go find one of those blocks and let me know who proposed it. Now you know who's doing it. That's it. Done. Cheers.
yeah, so like that's what I'm saying, that the Juno is different situation, but it seems to me there is a lot of projects that what they do, right? You know, they are like, hey, venture capitalists are bad, and they use similar rhetoric, like we're going to go no VC route,
Ooh.
We are doing the airdrop, and you will be our liquidity, so we can actually build something.
Right, but hey, Marcin, let me throw something at you, okay? Because I've done.
Isn't essentially what
At one
Comdex
point,
was doing? And
no, 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 no. I don't really want to get into that, but let's say I firmly stand with Varma's assessment. But I don't want to fucking spend time getting into the nitty gritty of what is and is not wash trading. I believe that they were involved in unethical activity. I do not believe that it was standard airdrop stuff. And hi, my name is Jacob Yadakian, and at one point, I had done the largest airdrop ever. It was Blurt. I believe that we invented airdropping techniques in order to do Blurt. Like they suck. Airdrops, okay? Airdrops suck. But here's the thing. They also kick ass, right? So double-edged sword. The shit part about constituting a chain's token supply in an airdrop is like, to an extent, Marcin, you're correct. Like the users will be the liquidity, but I mean, not really, because Marcin, we did Blurt for $5,000. Okay, I never really made any money on Blurt. I've never really sold any. And so, what is Blurt if it's not a stream of enrichment for Jacob, right? Well, I can tell you, end of the day, Blurt kind of turned into just self-expression. Like Blurt's a passion project. I'm probably never going to sell any Blurt. Look, we ought to simply accept the market. Okay, that's part of my messaging on Comdex, by the way. Look, if there were clarity on the prices that they're using, well, good with it. The fact is, there's a gov prop on Osmosis that says they should lose all their incentives because of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So they should lose all their incentives. End of story. If we keep screwing around like this, why would I not trade $10,000 a dig per block and create $56 billion in volume? Why not?
It's on Osmosis. I tell you, it would be effective in certain projects, and I will give you an example, but it will not be effective on Osmosis.
It would be effective on Osmosis, Marcin. I assure you.
Will you be popped on the trending pages? There is not something like this on Osmosis, so it would be hard for you to benefit from.
CoinGecko consumes Osmosis.
Okay, so you could push yourself to go CoinGecko trending, you say.
Plus, Osmosis.
Slow down with that beer. It's just 8 minutes, and you're nearly down in this.
Yeah, hot out. I'm thirsty.
Yeah. So why I know why you wouldn't do this, because it's this moral. But I want to get to the thing. I tell you, and it's important.
It's screw moral. Okay, the market doesn't do morality. The market does not care, right? So okay, if we're not examining stuff from a moral perspective, and I do think that wash trading is immoral. Okay, I want to come right out there, make that nice and clear, all that good shit, right? But if we're not talking morality, what the hell are we talking about? I will tell you, legality, not in the meat space, but that stuff is illegal on Osmosis. We made it illegal. We voted to make it illegal. And
so that's the only one concern of yours, that it's illegal via governance.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, come on. I validate that chain. So to me, this is really quite serious. I took it pretty seriously when Keychain was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I don't think that this pattern of, oh, well, we were doing that, we received significant benefit from doing it, we won't do it anymore, we promise. No, no.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Marcin, I've never programmatically traded dig. Never. Zero
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
If you see programmatic trading on dig, it's not me doing it. But you know what? Nobody
mhm.
is. Well, actually, there are a couple of like weird R bots that'll come in and like try to scoop Osmo out. The pools are interesting. All right. Point being,
Rama, if you want to join, let
if
me
you
know.
really,
I will drop a link for you. Oh,
who? Oh,
Rama,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I said to Rama if he wants to join the conversation.
Hi,
Um,
Oliver. Oliver, I've got to check and make sure that we're actually on T grade. Will you give me just a moment, please? Love you, Oliver. Thank you. I got to make sure that's
so
actually us. Talk about having a
yeah,
growing business.
so your issue
Yeah,
is
I'm doing
the
that
the
right now.
okay. I will speak my part. So your issue was like wash trading. My issue was like without product and shilling on the dead accounts, kind of, because
Hey,
that was
are we
you
actually
can
trading?
fund your
Are
project,
we?
but this
Do
using
we
the
validate
techniques
now?
that the Comdex was done
We don't.
was this moral.
You're sure?
But for what I want the maybe
Okay. Just a
community
moment, okay?
to
I'm actually on an
understand,
interview, and I gotta.
um,
Thank you.
hard to talk through each other, but
I, I,
um,
I do want to validate it, but I think we're being impersonated. I think somebody's fake.
I'm actually going to give him a moment.
Okay. All right. Wait. Hi, guys. Okay, who said we were on T grade and who can get me a link? Because, hi, Albert. I literally just called long because we have a policy of expansion, and sometimes I don't know when we come up on a new chain. But Oliver, I tell you, I don't think that's us on T grade. I'm going to ask a couple of more people on our team real quick. I want to make sure that nobody's gone and created it. It would be highly irregular, but possible that that's happened. But I think you're fake notional, just so you know.
Uh,
Good
yeah,
job,
so
Oliver.
important. Um, I want to say, but like for because so that there is certain this moral thing, but I saw people blaming the selling. Like but using these techniques and selling on you is really bad. But people don't actually understand how the airdropped ideology works over here. And let me tell you something regarding Juno. There was many people who bought at all-time high and would message me in private saying the developers dump, the validators dump, and the price tanking. It's unacceptable. They have to stop doing this. So to these people, I would like to say that these projects have to fund the ventures, and the token is actually the money reserves
It's
here.
all
So
right.
for
Well,
example, you
yeah.
have the let me just finish. We had the integration into Kepler, and we were allocating the funds, right? So it was like the voting is basically sell X amount of Juno to fund it because probably Kepler guys will sell it, right? So people need to understand that the airdrops tokens doesn't mean there is no sell pressure. You replace essentially you use the team allocation is essentially the venture self-funding venture capital firm in this instance, I would say. Okay, there was no, like, someone probably confused you. There was no notional on just you see people
Yeah. Thank
confused
you very much.
bringing.
Okay. Well, Oliver, don't worry about it. Sick brains happen. I got one too. No problem. And by the way, guys, if anybody ever sees anything, we have been impersonated before. Um, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again. By the way, though, um, I do want to say actually T grade. I do believe in it. I do want to validate it, and I believe in it probably for stupid reasons. Okay, I believe in T grade because I believe in Ethan Fry. Um, I've only spoken to him twice. Okay, and both times, he insisted to me that T grade was his big personal passion project. "Oh, Oliver, don't worry about it at all. I, much rather have clarity than not. So, not a trouble. Um, but it's my understanding
Um,
it takes a hell of a lot of stake to validate T grade right now. Probably won't validate it right now. But I do want to say, like, I like the project. And that's
Oliver,
main.
what's the
Hmm?
entry point for validator on T grade and what they do?
I don't know about the entry point, and I know that T grade is eh, COSM contracts aimed more at business than at like shitcoinery or consumers. Um, Look, Ethan built CW, okay, and now I contribute routinely to CW, and what can I say here? Like,
So what is this? Is a smart contract platform?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, here's the point though. Like, this is his ideal vision for his revolutionary product. I have massive respect for Ethan Fry, and so when he asked, "Do I believe in that chain?" the answer is a hard yes, that's simply um, because Ethan's on it. I know it might sound stupid, right? Because I'm talking people, I'm not talking technology, but the technology is really clear to me. It's Cosmosm. It's great.
Yeah, but isn't it like so you said it's smart contract platform, so it is essentially Juno? Give like explain me what it does because
Look, CW is highly, highly adaptable. Okay. Uh, Point being, yeah, exactly, exactly right. Thank you. But on the point of T grade and the talk of Cosmosm, Marcin, Juno doesn't own Cosmosm. Okay, Cosmosm was an independent development, and like
yeah,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
it.
I'm just trying to learn how they different from Juno. Because this was something the Frey, not Ethan Frey, was talking that more of the WASM platforms is the essentially the mindshare burn, because there is not many Cosmos developers. So I'm trying to understand: is it essentially the same like Juno, the smart contract platform, just,
Why?
or
I
they
think
build
it's permissioned. Um, so
permissioned?
Juno and Quora were kind of unique.
Jacob, I lost you. Jacob dropped. Mm, just trying to see what the T grade is. Jacob dropped. He will appeal shortly. Let me see what the T grade is. Look, they used a Hong Kong skyline because it has such a cool skyline, many lights. It looks like technology. Look, here they make the connection. This is the residential building. Here is also residential building, and this is also residential building. This is commercial building, and this is commercial building, and this is also commercial building. And this graphic here absolutely has no fucking sense when I'm looking on the page, but it's just me. because I live. This is commercial building. This is residential building. I don't know what they do here. Like seriously, man. I should. You see these buildings that have like kind of I don't know how to say, they like four different sides coming of them. These are residential buildings, and at the harbor you have essentially the commercial offices. So these connections that they made in the graph here doesn't make sense. This the largest is the um, IFC, International Financial Center, and on the other side of the harbor here is ICC, International Commercial Center, which is mainly the hotel over here. So they connect to the hotel. Sorry for shitting sorry for shitting, but like it's funny when you look at the blockchain pages, and this shit absolutely make no fucking sense. No fucking sense. Oh, anyway. What's that? Hey, I think it's is it also Hong Kong? I can't really see correctly. Um it's funny. Let's use the harbor of Hong Kong because it looks so much technology. A lot of cars, a lot of traffic. This also technology. Funny, like you know. Anyway, the Jacob is not appearing. Okay. Well, Null is here, which I feel a little bit stupid because the Jacob who has anything to say dropped. Null, do you want to join the chat right now? Um, so that's what he said. The T grade is permissioned contract for business. The idea is that businesses can create groups of KYC users that can do business with each other to satisfy the jurisdiction requirements. So I guess uh, they comply with the regulations. I I wasn't cheating on that. No, I wasn't. I was just making fun on of the graphic on the page. Like Jacob was saying good things about T grade, and I'm here trying to learn about T grade. But I went to the page, and I'm just like laughing as this graphic connecting the residential buildings with the commercial buildings. I'm not shitting on what they do. Like yeah, like I'm not really saying anything bad about T grade here. I'm actually waiting for Jacob to speak about T grade because he said he wants to be in the active validator set. So I don't really know what's the proof on of engagement, to be honest. Let me see if Jacob can come back. Not Jacob. I wonder if any of you would like to join on chat so we can have some subject actually. We could discuss the Comdex situation and the community driven projects that are kind of forced to dump the tokens. Of course, not the way that Comdex was doing this, but you have to use your community as the liquidity if you do want to find the project. May I know someone from the comments what's the proof of engagement? Because I do understand proof of work consensus mechanism, and I understand proof of stake consensus mechanism. Um, but I'm not sure if I engage proof of engagement mechanism, and I don't really like the meaning of it. Um, because it means like it could generate the value if you somehow do physical engagement with the platform. So if someone could really explain that to me. Yeah, Jacob dropped. Cool. I'm gonna message your official. By the way, like I haven't. Okay, Null. I just slide in your Twitter DMs. Yeah, I just did. So let's get you on, and this conversation will be different. So Jacob cannot get back on. We'll have a short chat with Null, and probably will change. Oh, Telegram. Okay, going on Telegram now. Mm, but you? And here you are. I did drop you a link. So let me know if you can join. Yeah, there will be some things I do want to ask you. Um, and that includes being validator, uh, maybe some drama, and your opinions on the Comdex situation, um, and maybe about the Juno as the hub and Cosmos as the hub. Meanwhile, as Null is not here, if you have any questions, do please um, drop them. And sorry for this chat being like so shitty. Um, but like it meant to be chat with the Jacob, which has no access to the internet right now. I did really wanted to like speak about region network and how what is the value of carbon credits, because like Jacob was like speaking of some disapproval for the carbon credits as well. Hey, coach, thank you. I actually did record the video. I did record about Comdex and like how does um airdropped tokens utilize community to fund its ventures. Hey, nice to meet you. By the way, it's first time. I cannot hear you, so check the mic. Like you need to connect the mic.
Yeah, man. Sorry, new platform. Haven't used this one before.
Yeah, maybe I should switch to StreamYard. I was considering this too, but I bought the subscription on this one, so I'm stuck with this one.
Hey, man.
So
Everything has their like pros and cons, right?
yeah, it's first time us talking. I'm excited. You big validator. You are on Game of Nodes. I guess one of the co-founder of the podcast Game of Nodes.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. I guess so. It's not really like it wasn't ever really founded. We just started doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Where are you based in Australia? You are
I'm in
in
New South
Australia,
Wales,
New South
so
Wales. Okay.
yeah, it's like the same state that. So there's like 7 states in Australia, I
Mm-hmm.
think, and
Uh,
so we're in the one that Sydney's in, New South Wales,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I'm like midway between New South Wales and Brisbane in a country
Yeah,
town.
yeah. I've been in Australia, and ironically, I have not been to any major spot. I was in Cairns before,
Oh,
and I was to Adelaide.
oh yeah, in Adelaide. That's a
Yeah, yeah.
random place to go to, man.
It
Adelaide.
was all right. Very nice coast, I'd say. You know, my wife is flight attendant, so We used to be based in Hong Kong, so when she got few days flight, I would hop on to spend few days with her, um, in in the, in some places. So
And where are you based now?
I'm in Poland, and yeah, it was kind of because of COVID, because I was working, like, staying in Hong Kong where I do have business there. But when COVID started, it was pretty like the drama that started, like being near China, and it's like it's another SARS one. So I was like, okay, I'm flying home to visit family and rest from this drama. So as I flew back home, in 1 month everything was closed, and I couldn't go back to Hong Kong for like year and a half. And it's been over 2 years now. Meanwhile, like, I married with my wife because we couldn't see each other. But that's how I ended in my parents' bedroom, and it seems I cannot move out now. Like, it's hard to too comfortable here, you know.
So is your sorry, where is your wife? Is she there with you, or she's in
No,
Hong
no, no.
Kong?
My wife is in Hong Kong. So when COVID started, I came here and we kind of got separated by this border closures because I never got myself the Hong Kong ID.
Yeah.
And then we met like 20 months after. So because of COVID, we were like separated for 20 months. When she could travel here, she came. And then I meant to flew back with her, but then Hong Kong closed borders again. So then she flew back to me 6 months after that again, and we went to Vegas to marry, so we wouldn't be separated. And I meant to join her next month in Hong Kong. So that was like that, and that's how I started making COVID. I was bored, started making content. I was just like bored home here and recording videos. So actually, like, the Don Kryptonium persona is result of COVID.
That's awesome, man.
But,
And
yeah.
sorry you guys got separated for so long.
And so, like, I guess, like, we got used to, but it will get better. Like, we were long in relationship before that, and every summer I would leave for 2 months. So you kind of like get the um get the flow. I want to ask you, like, how did you start as the validator? Like, was it Juno? Is Juno your first chain?
Yeah, definitely. So, well, okay, it wasn't. First of all, apologies. I'm eating my steak at the moment as well,
It's
and
fine.
having a whiskey. It's like Sunday night, and yeah, I'd only just cooked a steak, and I can't really just let it go. So I'm gonna eat it slowly while we're talking.
Is it medium rare? What's the
Oh, it's pretty medium rare. Oh, it's probably pretty rare. Camera doesn't do it justice. I like a rare steak.
tender?
Um, oh yeah, it's pretty nice actually. I get it like the whole Scotch fillet and just get them to cut it up and vac pack it. So I've got like a whole freezer full of Scotch fillet.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Australia do have really nice steak.
Oh
I
yeah,
have to
man.
say,
Our
overall,
beef
the
is
food, the meat
mint.
quality, absolutely amazing. Yeah.
It's just
It,
like when you're in other countries, the I kind of noticed this in Hong Kong as well. I've been to Hong Kong a couple of times, but the food is like scarcer, if you know what I mean. So, like when you're in Australia, if you go to a restaurant, you can just eat until you're sick. Like
yeah.
you can, and the steaks are big and they're cheap in comparison
Mhm.
to other places, and you can get like big lobsters and seafood, whole friggin' plates full of it. But it's not everything's cheap, but it's like we have a lot of food here because we're an enormous farming country, and there's not like so many people. So
Especially now, you probably do not complain on food shortages, like, because you do not rely on any other countries. But that's correct. First of all, like, Hong Kong people love to travel for food. That's like, they don't travel to, have fun and get drunk. They go to eat food. And like, when you fly to Australia, this is exactly what we did. We went for a steak, we went for a lobster, and it's still cheaper than Hong Kong, and the quality just like really nice, like,
cheaper than Hong Kong. I've
sorry?
only been there. I've been in Hong Kong a couple of times, and I thought it was like pretty cheap in comparison to Australia.
if you want a good steak, you will go to fine dining, and the fine
I
dining
never
in
had steak in Hong Kong
yeah.
though. I had like traditional like Chinese type
But
meals
if
and
you
like
go to like
barbecue and stuff.
yeah, if you go to like this cha chan teng, right? So this is the traditional Hong Kong cafe, which is like soups, spaghetti is actually mix of Western, this weird kind of mix of Chinese. So you pay like uh yeah, that's true. Like so, Chris is my friend from Hong Kong, so you can eat for like $10 like proper meal in Hong Kong. But then you can, like, if you want to go for a nice steak, you will go and pay 50 or $100. So this is
Mm.
has this disparity between like Western like fine dining food and local food. Chris, can you correct me if uh if I'm wrong, but this is how I see Hong Kong. And for example, um, going to Australia, we were obsessed going to, like, we always, like, when we stay too long in Hong Kong, we're obsessed with supermarkets. So in Adelaide, we were going to supermarket to buy plenty of yogurts because you have a lot of this. So
Oh yeah,
milk, dairy products are expensive in Hong Kong, but in Australia, these products are cheaper than Hong Kong. So it's like depends on the product, right?
yeah, true.
Um,
I really love like you get Chinese good Chinese food without actually going to China. Well, it is China now, but back then it
mhm.
was like under England or whatever. But man, I just the barbecue they've got over there is just phenomenal. And I was quite young when I used to go over there as well.
Mhm.
So like when I say quite young, I mean like in my 20s. And basically, I was just going there with a couple of friends to basically get good barbecue and drink piss from the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, that's that's what you do in Hong Kong.
Yeah,
Like,
we just go
because
around and drink like those, what are they, like the vodka blacks,
yeah,
and go to barbecue and then go to Lang Kwai Fong and then
yeah, yeah.
just
Yeah. So
get
when
turned.
yeah, when like I I'd love to meet you there if you ever, but because you still do this, the beer in the bar is like quite expensive. And anyway, you have 7-Eleven opposite to the bar. So all you do, you stay at 7-Eleven, with your friends, spend half of the night, go for food somewhere. As you said, eat some barbecue, good green veggies, and just drink beer. And that's the Hong Kong. And I do miss that a lot.
I think it's Lang Kwai Fong. And excuse me if I'm like pronouncing it wrong, but
So
it's
correct.
like in an alley. There's like an alley there, right, with all the bars, and then like right up the end of the alley is like a 7-Eleven, and there's always lots of people
Exactly.
there like,
There is
buying
there is
drinks and stuff.
7-Eleven. Like, so you from Central Station, you go up. This is seven the you probably know, you were arriving Central Station going up this street, and this is Lang Kwai Fong. This is like one street up and two streets on the side. That's all the bar area. And as you go up, there is the street turning left, and on the right before the turn there is 7-Eleven that everyone stays. Um Yeah, but Hong Kong got like shattered because they have these shitty policies, right? Like um, it got fully closed. Hong Kong got very isolated in the past 2 years. It used to be this kind of international center and good place to have fun.
Mm.
This is what I loved about this. Like when I was there, I felt anonymous, and like this has this like kind of business freedom where no one cares about you. You do whatever you want.
Like
But with the
no,
restrictions,
yeah,
yeah,
like no one I know really wants to go and visit Hong Kong anymore. It used to be like really fun, and now it's just like, there used to be like the protests and stuff
yeah,
after the Chinese government took it over. Now people are just like don't really want to go there. So
yeah. So this is, like the first month. This is something I even spoke with Chris. Like I've been there 3 years, and I did really like got really attached to Hong Kong. Like I did consider this my second home. And it was like when the COVID started, I was like, here I did miss a lot. as the time passes, I started like to do other stuff, like let's say riding horses, making content, and suddenly I don't want to go Hong Kong because it's all closed there. Like I go there, they have quarantines, there is not much stuff to do. Rent is very expensive. And even I spoke to Chris, and he says it's the first, because he visit UK home first time, and he's like, this is the first time I feel I don't really want to go back. And many people have, like, people always looked after, uh, forward to going back to Hong Kong. People don't look forward to it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's pretty sad, because it was amazing place. I was in the protests, like, so I was still there, and this was the first days. So this was the second day, and it was the first day when they start using a lot of, not sure if you can see, a lot of gas. So you see the umbrellas. The umbrellas are over cover shield for the for whatever weapons the government use. And of course selfies people were like. So yeah, that was the start of the Hong Kong changing.
I mean, not
Yeah.
not to like dwell on Hong Kong too much, but the um, the thing that I used to find like so romantic about Hong Kong was like the contrast of like old and new there. You've got like
Mm-hmm.
ultra modern stuff like buildings, and you go to the malls and are like ultra modern, all the all the trimmings, right?
Yeah.
And then you'll see the dude with like the corner store that's printing business cards on like an old school printer, and he's like,
Yeah.
you know leathery old Chinese dude just in there just doing his thing, making his
Yeah.
cards. It's like that's what I found like so romantic about Hong Kong, was just that stark contrast, and I loved it. I'd go back so much to go see it, and yeah, man. But like I said, people and myself included, just not, I don't wake up now and just go, oh, geez, I'd love to go to Hong Kong this year. It's not on my mind anymore, unfortunately.
um
Uh, Chris, I'm
have
based
you
in New South Wales, man, country New
Yeah, I
South Wales.
just responded. What I wanted, did you experience the countryside there? It's really like
No, I
yeah,
was
that,
only in
that
like Hong Kong City
like
and went.
nice
What is it like? Oh well, actually, I don't know what is the countryside of Hong Kong, but there
Saikun,
is like,
like,
when you go down near the airport, there's like you can get on the gondola and you go up to where that massive Buddha
okay,
is. Like I
Lantau
went out there.
towards Buddha. Yeah. Yeah,
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 I,
yeah.
I
That's
went out
also
there.
like, yeah,
That's about
this is
it.
also countryside. You have a lot of great beaches actually in Hong Kong, like great like swimming spots, etc. Um so like getting back to the to the validator stuff.
Yeah.
Um German, believe you are Norwegian. Um how is proof of engagement for a validator? I would just want to understand like how proof of engagement even works.
So it is like really different to anything else in the cosmos. That is absolutely for certain. So if you like buy T grade tokens on Osmosis, I'm pretty sure you can't just go and stake them and then get
Hmm.
a return from them on the chain. So the way T grade works is that there is I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a panel of people.
Hmm.
And at the moment it's one panel of people, but later on, as the chain develops, it could be like, regional panels of people, or that type of thing. So it could be divided up or developed in different ways, right? But at the moment it's
Hmm.
one panel of people. And how it works is, you know T grades in the early stages. So if you help out with like marketing or run a validator, or help out on the business side of things, like for example, one of the thing I'm trying to do is trying to connect with businesses in Australia who this might appeal to, the type of platform that they're running.
Hmm.
And if you can do these types of things to help develop the network, then you get engagement points, right? and then you can stake engagement points to your to a validator. And then I think it's like a combination of tokens and engagement points that you get rewards for.
Hmm.
But it's not super inflationary, and it's not you can't just go and have a bag and then go and stake it and passively get income from it. You have to like
Yeah.
be involved in some fashion.
So essentially, it's like you have to be sort of employee and bring the value to the chain to actually benefit from the chain. You can't just be passive, right?
Yeah, it's not passive, and it's not
Hmm.
for everyone. But
Yeah.
it's like it'll suit certain people and it won't suit other people. But I mean, from the T grade side of things, it is a good way to like help the business develop, and that might mean that it's a business that succeeds. So, um,
And
different.
I tried to get this from Jacob. Is it like smart permissioned smart contract platform but directed towards the businesses to bring the apps on chain?
Yeah. So the idea it is Cosmosm, obviously, Ethan Frey, and it is permissioned, and it's more about siloing groups. So
Hmm.
as far as the D app and that is concerned, right, and the user base in terms of actually using the T grade network, it's about having like siloed users that can uh, interact with each other in their own group. So, for example, you might have like Business Australia is
Hmm.
as a group. And then if you want to join Business Australia, you have to KYC your company, and then you can trade, you know, steel tokens or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, so it's more like satisfying jurisdictional requirements um, to make it easier for people to do business in the crypto space rather than having a completely permissionless
Hmm.
area. So it's not about being permissionless. It's not about being decentralized. It's not what most people um, think that crypto should be about. It's a use case for blockchain that is
Yeah.
not the norm. So it's like the way they do rewards is different. The way they do blockchain is just completely different. But that's not to say it's right or wrong. It's just different to how other people think that it should be done.
Hmm. So there is question from Christopher, and I was asking this before, but I want to stick to this permissionless nature versus permission, etc. Like, can you tell me? Like, I'm I'm actually like for 6 months trying to think what is permissionless, what the permissionless mean. Could you tell me exactly what is permissionless network, and and is it really?
So a permissionless smart chain network, right, is like okay, Juno's permissionless, so anybody can just upload and instantiate a contract that they've written on Juno, right? Stargaze has Cosmosm, but it's not permissionless. So to instantiate a contract on Cosmosm, you have to put it through governance. You can upload it, but you
Mm-hmm.
can't instantiate it unless you go through governance and people vote to
Mm-hmm.
allow you to run the instantiate message, right? So, um, you know, there are implications of permissionless and permissioned. So if you have a permissionless Cosmosm network, anyone can write anything
Mm-hmm.
and put it on the network, right? So it can be like malicious. If there's a bug in the code, it can be like bad for users. It can be great for users. It's whatever the hell people can think of and write in Rust as a Cosmosm contract. They can upload, instantiate, and just go to town on, right? And I'm pretty sure it's the same on Evmos
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of other chains here and there. I think Juno was pretty much the first. But say, for example, on Stargaze, if you don't want uh, the contract instantiated on the network, you can just vote it down and it won't get instantiated. And you get protection in that circumstance, right? So if you look at the Juno Halt, that happened because someone knew a bug that was in the COSM code, and they uploaded a contract and instantiated it that would cause all the validators to come up with a different answer in the
Mm-hmm.
from calling that contract, and then commit a different state each, right? So you ended up with 125 different states. So that wouldn't happen on a permission chain because people would try to get it instantiated through governance, and people would look at it and they'd
Mm-hmm.
go, well, this is a malicious contract, and we wouldn't instantiate it. So
Yeah.
in terms of like security, it's harder, and you have to be more on top of upgrades and making sure that you patch bugs and stuff on a permissionless chain, whereas not so much on a permission
Yeah.
chain.
So that much I understand, but there is another factor like that plays the role, which is the governance, which kind of like, is it still permissionless if you have ability uh to exclude something that you do not like, because that essentially would mean permission, but it's like kind of delayed because you can deploy but then you can cancel. So example, like, let's say I want to do a Silk Road on Juno, right? I don't know if it's possible, I'm not deaf, like, but I'm deploying the Silk Road. You can trade the guns, drugs, people, whatever,
There's
you know.
there's no
And
way that it could be stopped, because as long as the network exists, right? Even if there was a way, and I'm not sure if there is or not, but if there was a way to kill that contract through governance, then it couldn't stop you from just uploading 150 more like it tomorrow.
I
So
understand,
yeah, it's permissionless in that it, you can't really stop it.
but like, okay, then, so I create that, and there is the also accounts where the profits from such network go. Do you think there is still, like, maybe after the Juno juicer comes to life, this could be protection for this, let's say, bad entities creating the illegal ventures on the Juno network, to that could protect them? Because that's my understanding of permission, like everyone has to be protected, right? And or there is still ways to stop these entities.
No, but there's no way to stop those entities on any blockchain.
Okay.
So it's just that the only part about Juno that's permissionless is smart contracts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all blockchains are permissionless in that anybody can
Mm-hmm.
create an account, and as long as they can get tokens to it in some fashion, then they can be anonymous or whatever, depending on how you get your tokens to it. If you get it through a sex, and you can get KYC'd from the sex, or your government can figure out who you
Mm-hmm.
are through the sex by information sharing,
Yeah.
then yeah, you can be like doxed that way. But if you have other means of getting, maybe you do OTC with people in a car park in Utah or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
then you can get like Bitcoin in a way that people can't figure out who you are, right?
Yeah.
So, there's ways and means for all blockchains in terms of like being anonymous, but
Mm-hmm.
anonymous is not the same as permissionless.
Yeah. Okay, I get that, because I was convinced that the community can stop the the contract via
Look, maybe,
governance, and that
I
that
I
essentially.
don't 100% know, but maybe they could stop one contract, but you can just upload another one and another one
But
and another one. It'd be like playing
then,
whack-a-mole with contracts.
yeah, but then if the community stop the contract, the using the permissionless name in the network is kind of faulty.
Yeah,
I know I'm being like going too far, like, but it's you. I know I'm trying to be picky here, so
hmm,
it's
it's an unlikely scenario, I would say.
okay. Yeah. Should governance be that heavy?
That
Like,
heavy?
yeah, like should we vote on every single thing, or should be like because like I never seen such political chain like Juno. You know, like why would why we even have half of the proposals that we do?
Look, Juno is like completely community run, right? So it's like all the token was dropped to community. There's like very little centralized governance, and it's permissionless smart contracts. Like it's just was always going to be like a political playground. And then
Mm-hmm.
you've got, it's just there's so many players in the space, and there's, the community has such a big voice that they want to
Yeah.
use it, I suppose, as opposed to like, you know, you know, T grade. There's no airdrop. There's no
Mm-hmm.
incentivized test nets. There's nothing like that. It's completely different paradigm to Juno, and you probably won't see the kind of drama over there as you see in Juno because there's not so much involvement by
Mm-hmm.
so many different people. Um, and when you look at the drama on Juno, most of it is around the whale. There's very little other, um, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was
controversy on
not
Juno,
much other.
really.
So getting back to the validator, you said that Juno was your first. Like, what is um and the same questions I would have actually to the fray, because I think this is the first. How did these people, like whoever was orchestrating Juno, whether it was Wolf or someone, how did they find you guys and got you engaged? Were you within the community already, or they were like random, like you, I don't know, Googled and you are like, oh, there is Juno, I'm gonna be validator now.
Man, I honestly I couldn't put my finger on it how I came about it. It was just I was like looking around Cosmos. Like the first Cosmos chain I come across was Iris, right?
Mm-hmm.
And man, I had a bad experience with Iris. So I didn't know about test nets. I didn't know about all this type of stuff, right? So Iris was the first thing I came across after I was looking at some other ETH stuff and various other chains, right?
It was one of the
So I was
first
only
for me too, but just as the user, it was like I googled the best Cosmos, and a while ago it was like Iris, DVPN, Sentinel back then,
yeah.
uh, and this sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
there was only like a handful, right? When you
Yeah.
look at the Kepler back then, there was like
Mm-hmm.
just a few.
Yeah.
So I think like I was coming around about when like I think Regen launched and maybe that other blockchain that does names or something.
Yeah.
So, but I was just like I got burned in 2017, and I was just coming back and getting familiar with blockchain again, and looking around, and I started to join. Uh, Follow different people on Twitter and join different Discord groups and join Telegrams. And I honestly couldn't tell you how I came across Juno, but
Mm-hmm.
I was engaging with like Jake and I came across Stargaze at about the same time. So I was looking to find my feet in blockchain again, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I happened across the right people that helped me find my feet and point me in the right direction. And then I was pretty active in like the Juno community. And then, I just found myself being a big contributor on Juno through probably more so through the Hack Juno program. And then,
Mm-hmm.
after the launch, just continuing to do whatever was needed on the chain. And before the launch, like we did a lot of the Frey and I
Mm-hmm.
did a lot of documentation, and we were pretty big in the in the test nets and that type of stuff. And we just continued to like keep kicking the can along after they launched, I guess. So here we are. So as for other networks, like I've only really joined networks that interest me.
Mm-hmm.
I veto a lot of them just because I don't see what some of them are for, or what they long term value is. So
Mhm.
as a validator, like I try to only choose networks that I think are either interesting to me or I think might be like going to make it in the future, so that our delegators don't get burned by
Mhm.
being involved with something where they're delegating to us. So I guess our brand strategy is that we are a validator who has some sort of quality control in the validators in the networks that they validate for, and then we'll build our brand based on that, if that makes
S-
sense.
So you do believe in Juno? What other networks you do believe in?
So we are on quite a few networks. um,
I can actually Google that.
yeah,
Uh,
I've got the list right in front of me. So
is your name
uh,
Joseph, or the Joseph is different guy?
no, yeah, Joseph is my community guy.
Okay.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're on Juno, Stargaze, Omniflix, Keychain, Evmos, Secret, Chihuahua, T-Grade, Dig, Firma,
Mhm.
and Kujira. So we came up with our policy of chains that are going to make it or not going to make it a little bit after we joined some of the chains that we joined. And I'm not going to say which ones are what right now, but we might
Mhm.
end up leaving some chains after we publish our policy
Yeah.
on our website about network selection. So, we were a little bit YOLO there at one point. Um,
Mhm. Okay. So you're gonna leave Chihuahua, right? And
no. So, Chihuahua, I think,
and Key Network. That's the
so
no.
I want
Just
to see, I want to see what Key produce. So they do have like some working product, right?
mhm.
But they're also developing like some other things. I think people have got like not necessarily a high view of keychain, a lot of people,
Mhm.
um, but I'm already there, so I'm willing to like stick it out and see what they produce in the next 6 to 9 months, and see what they make of the bear market. But I know they are working on things at the moment. I'd like to see where that goes before we make any rash decisions. So also Chihuahua, I won't leave Chihuahua.
Mhm.
I think every ecosystem needs a degen chain for people to play
Yeah.
with, and
I, I,
I'm quite interested to see where it goes now that they've put Cosmosm on there. It could be like a bit of a canary network for people who want to develop and then move to Juno or other things like that. So the token's worthless at the moment, but it doesn't mean that there's no value to be had in the network itself at
yeah.
some point.
I was thinking I could use Chihuahua to learn to be validator, but I can't even, I never even used Linux in my life. So,
I'll teach
but
you.
I think, sorry,
I'll teach you.
what? Well, yeah, would be lovely. Yeah, I also have the partner Touch Crypto. Like, sometimes I'm trying, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, what's going on here? Like people don't realize. I think many crypto people, and that would include maybe you, don't realize how non-technical person perceive, even like if you never had any experience with Linux, with being a developer or anything, a lot of stuff what validator talks, like, there's assumption that the thing that I'm in crypto, I know it, but I actually don't. Which is like, and there is a lot of people like me, I believe. Like there is validators like probably you, Rhino, would assume, oh, you just need to do this and this, but it's just like, okay, but what's this? Like if you don't know absolutely any baby steps, right? I want to ask more about. I guess you believe in 100% chains. I guess if you already on them,
Maybe 80%.
and yeah, the 20 you're gonna leave. Oh, Swiss staking. Hey, Swiss staking, you big delegate to Don Kryptonium. That's- and Game of Nodes. There is few of you guys. you do not run your validator at home, is it correct? Like, because at the intro of the game of nodes you have the servers and it looked like you run them in the basement, but it's not
Oh
the
shit, man, that is just like stock footage. If ever you've seen stock footage.
that's misleading. I was like, ooh, these guys do not fuck around. you know.
No, I think
So
all of us use cloud in some fashion. Like no one's edge validating in Game of Nodes. So
mhm,
the Frey uses AWS. I use OVH mostly. Uh,
mhm,
I think um, Lavender. I think he uses probably a mixture of Hetzner and other things. And
mhm.
uh, actually, Rhino has his own shit.
Oh yeah, like
In
I saw it recently. He probably upgraded, right? Like over time.
Yeah, so he's got like all this Cisco stuff. I'm not
Mhm,
sure how he happened across it, but he's got just like the mad hookup with, older gen Cisco shit, and he's got a lot of it. And so he runs in Colo. I think he's got two Colo locations.
mhm,
That's like, for those who don't know, Colo is just like you pay to have your own shit into a data center somewhere.
mhm,
So yeah, I think he runs either one or more locations with his colo stuff. He's had some, he might be using a little bit of cloud stuff. I'm not 100% sure, but he had some issues with faster blockchains with his hardware keeping up, like
mhm.
Kujira or maybe Psi,
Yeah,
or say, or however you say it, from the testnet side of things. So maybe he's doing the testing and realized that maybe he needs to get some different processor power here and there. But
yeah.
for the most part, he's in colo with his own hardware. That's for sure.
So is there like because like a lot of people, when because I'm open, like I don't know anything, so I do like white label, trying to make some dollar myself in the space. And there's a lot of comments like, what's your stuff, do you even use bare metal? Like everyone assumed that most of the validators have the servers at home, or so. Of course the servers that we do rent is bare metal. I learned that because I was saying I'm not bare metal just because I knew I'm not at home, but it is bare metal. So um is the
So,
reason to even run it at home, or it's actually safer to rent it from OVH, very reliable data center, very big, right?
man, it really depends on what like your fundamental view is on blockchain, right? So if you're
Yeah.
like a diehard, has to be decentralized, has to be like geo decentralized, located all over the place with different people and players and all that shit, right? If that's what your view is, then there's some merit in running. So that they call it validating at the edge, right? So the edge is like at the edge of the network. So your house is at the edge of a network.
Hmm.
Data center is like more towards the heart of a network, right? So edge validating is like, you can have bare metal in your house, and that's cool, but it depends on like also if you care if you miss blocks or not, because edge
Hmm.
validating, you're gonna miss blocks, but it doesn't matter if you miss blocks. It's like
Hmm.
this big um like uh I'm not sure the word. People think that you can't miss blocks, right?
Hmm.
Why? There's an allowance of blocks that you can miss. You can miss on Evmos half of the window of like 90,000
Hmm.
blocks. So you can miss 45,000 blocks. As long as you don't miss them consecutively, you're not going to get jailed. So
Hmm.
if you're missing like a thousand blocks a day, um, you're never going to get jailed, and
Hmm.
no one's going to pay any consequence for that. The only thing that might happen is you might not propose as many blocks for some reason, which means that you might not get the bonus as often, and you might have a very significantly smaller um, APY or APR or whatever.
Hmm.
But that's not to say that what's a couple of tiny fractions of a
Yeah.
percent.
So I want to ask you: is the cost of faster blocks and the faster network is missing blocks essentially? Because when you look at the when you look at the some networks like Juno or Cosmos, barely anyone misses blocks, right? You go on
Juno's easier.
Evmos, everyone is missing blocks. Why is that?
Firstly, my steak's cold as shit, so I'm
I'm
like
sorry for this.
eating a
I owe
raw.
you.
I'm eating a raw animal now. So there's like, it's not about necessarily your amount of RAM or your CPU quantity
Mm-hmm.
or speed, right? So bare metal seems to be best in most cases, in my opinion, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there's, you know, cloud compute is also good in most
Mm-hmm.
instances, right? So when you compare Juno with Evmos,
Mm-hmm.
Evmos has 2 second blocks basically. So
Yeah.
Juno has 6 second blocks. And what that means is that it depends on how you're set up as to how many blocks, like how hard it
Mm-hmm.
is to catch those blocks. So if you're using, for example, like a Horcrux raft,
Mm-hmm.
like a cluster that's doing the signing, and they're connected then to various sentries, right?
Mm-hmm.
When there's a block, there has to be agreement between all of the signers in the Horcrux raft,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have to find one of your sentries that they're connected to who's able to sign a block and then do the pre-vote and the commit, right? So sometimes, depending on network congestion and like tons of other factors, they might not be able to all talk to each other and then talk to one of
Mm-hmm.
your sentry nodes and then make the pre-vote and the commit before the block timeout, right? The
Mm-hmm.
commit timeout. So when you take a 2 second block, that's like 3 times faster than a 6 second block. So it's
Mm-hmm.
much easier to catch all the blocks on a 6 second block than what it is to catch all the blocks on
Yeah.
a 2 second block. And when you take into like account say network or Psi network, however you say, it is like 1 second blocks, right? Or like 0.9 second blocks. So it's even
Yeah.
faster again.
And I wanted to ask, do we even like what's the point then? Do we even need that 1 second block on say network right now? Maybe we could think of this a little bit later, don't you think? That it's like such a marketing that actually doesn't really matter.
So I guess it's down to the use case of the network.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the user experience, right? So you don't want people to come on to and user experience is why Evmos changed their block speed, because the EVM engine was taking so long
Mm-hmm.
to do anything. When you make a transaction, you'd get sequence errors when you tried to make two transactions in a row. So
Mm-hmm.
it's taking fucking forever to make the transaction, right?
Yeah.
So if you went and claimed your rewards, you would have to wait like a minute and then come back and
Mm-hmm.
then do like a stake or whatever the fuck you're going to do.
Yeah.
So when they changed to 2 second blocks, the user experience became much, much better.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on what your network intends to do, right? So Kujira is a app chain. It's not I don't think it's a CosmWasm chain. It's an app chain, right? So their app is an order book. And for an order book to be effective and usable, you need to have a fast block. So for Kujira, they have fast blocks,
Right.
and it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
For Evmos, there was a shit user experience, and they improved it by increasing the block speed. For Juno, I don't think anyone has complained that the block speeds are too
Yeah.
slow. We've talked about it internally about increasing the block speeds, and maybe we will if there is a need. But for now,
Yeah.
there's no need that I can see anyway.
What's the block time on Kujira?
I think it's 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So I think
Not many
Kujira
people
had a fast
missing.
block
No one
time,
missing
and
blocks. I mean, few blocks. It's like it's
there's a
fine.
couple. There's a couple.
Yeah.
So it like Kujira is different to Evmos in that Evmos is a firstly it's trying to do EVM contracts as well
Mm-hmm.
as Cosmosm contracts, right? But it's a smart contract chain. It runs
Yeah.
VMs and it's got a lot of shit to do in between, like signing blocks. Whereas the app chains are like module um, based apps that are like more efficient and don't have as much shit to do. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot easier for them, those chains, and it's it doesn't have as much overhead for the validators.
Yeah. So someone was asking if it's possible to use Akash to run the node, and I learned from my guy it's not really for running a validator node. Yeah,
Mm.
just chew it well. It's not as tender as it as it would seem.
No, well, it's been around a while now. Um,
Yeah.
so and it's it's Scotch fillet. It's not eye
Mm-hmm.
fillet or anything like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so a cache, right? I have run a validator on a cache, which Jacob from Notional took great pleasure in destroying. He fucked my tool. It was fun for about a day,
Mm-hmm.
and then he broke it. But that was like way back in the early days of
Mm-hmm.
the Juno test nets, and I was just playing around with it. And you can definitely run a validator on a cache. Can you run
Yeah.
a validator reliably? Maybe. Um, can you like? Ugh, it's really hard subject. It really depends on what you're like as a DevOps person, how knowledgeable you are on Docker, Kubernetes, security, and all
Mm-hmm.
that type of stuff, right? So there's lots of surface area for bad security. So
Mm-hmm.
there's if you use a remote signer, it is a lot more viable than if you use like a local signer, right? So I don't know how familiar you are with the two different types of signers, but there's basically you can have a file locally on the system that has your signing key, or you
Mm-hmm.
can have a remote system that talks to your sentries and gives
Mm-hmm.
them a signing key when it's time to sign the block, right? Remotely. So it's different now, but back when I did it, there was no persistent storage on a cache, so you had to have a solution to have your um, signing key stored somewhere where it could uh, go and fetch the file and then use it to sign with. So I was using Cosmos Omnibus, which is maintained by EcoStake, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And the system they developed there was that you'd keep your key encrypted on S3 storage. And then when you loaded that container, it would go and fetch the key from S3 storage and then use it to sign. But you had to have as an environment variable a encryption key so that they could decrypt the key for your
Mm-hmm.
signer. So there's various ways that could go wrong for you, right? Nowadays, you could load up a cache container and you could use an environment variable rather than a password to decrypt your key. You could use one of the variables for the configuration that would make it listen for your signer, and then you can point your signer, which is far more secure elsewhere, to that validator and then use it as a sentry to do your validating, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing, right? Management of keys is difficult. The other thing is that depending on how heavy the workload is for the chain, that a cache instances can get expensive. I remember uh, the Fray did a live cast not long ago that had him loading up in a cache container to do a validator, probably on a test net somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he ended up having to accept a contract for like $65 a month or something for that particular test net to have enough resources
Mm-hmm.
to be able to operate it. So, look, you could probably do that cheaper on other services for that
So
particular test. So,
to conclude, the kind of marketing of because like before I spoke to validators, I thought like Akash is this super cheap. Why people don't run validators on Akash? Because the Akash do advertise themselves this way, that this is true decentralization, but it would seem that's not the case. You can actually be more reliable actually with validator and at the lower price than Akash, which
so
kind
to
of
take an
means
example, right? Like
yeah.
to run a website on a cache, and I think
Hmm.
Restake.app is run on a cache.
Hmm.
It is pretty
Sieve
cheap.
chain does as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a few bucks a month for a
Hmm.
basic static website, right?
Hmm.
Um, that's pretty cheap. But when you start to bring in like heavier workloads, you won't necessarily get like the cheapest instance that you want. So look, the evidence here is a sample size of one, which was the phrase. So I haven't done any meaningful, survey of pricing on a cache to determine if that's actually
Hmm.
true or not. It's just from what I saw from his video. So um, certainly when I ran the validator for Juno testnet way back, it was cheap. It was like $5 a month back then
Hmm.
for the particular instance that was able to run my validator. So I don't have a big sample size, and maybe it was just like a quiet time for people doing bids at the time. So who knows? Can you run a validator on a cache? Yes. Is it the easiest thing to do? Not necessarily, but it's made easier by Cosmos Omnibus. Is it the cheapest? I don't know.
Hmm.
That's all I can tell
Um,
you.
I want I want to ask you, um, your friend, the Frey. I guess maybe my friend. I met him in real life.
Well,
Um,
you're better friends with him than me, then, man.
he gave me a hug.
Oh shit!
So he built this social app, um, Howl, Howl,
How?
Howl, Howl. Have you
Yeah.
used? Have you tested?
Have you?
Um, I opened up. I have like I just have you opened? Just try to type something. No, nothing. Well, you're such a shitty friend. And you are such a like your friend developed something for months and you don't even spend a minute to try it. I was hoping I can get some opinion.
I'm a busy dude, man.
Yeah. I was hoping I can get something like I I think it's like you didn't see it, right? I don't think I can show it. I said to Frey that it feel claustrophobic a little bit. The framing is very narrow at the center when you type. Very non-technical stuff, but I felt Twitter does look way better, and I think that's the problem. Like regarding the user experience.
I didn't even know that. I don't know. Maybe he hasn't invited me to it. I mean, do you have to be invited? Oh, here it is.
On the Discord there is the page for the testing, and then you just have to request some Juno testnet tokens, and you can see the platform. Like
Maybe I
you
should give
should,
it a look.
yeah, you should check it. Like you should give some feedback. That would be that sure would be helpful. Like I know it's him and Callum working on this. um there was discussion done, the last one, I promise you, and then because I have to run as well. Um,
It's my steak, so I'm good. I'm just whiskey now.
what time is it there?
It's 8:45, but I
Okay,
go to bed pretty early, so I usually get up like 4 or 5 a.m.
wow, crazy.
It's Sunday, so I'm trying to finish off my weekend bottle of Arbor, and I'm doing a good job of it.
All of you have some alcohol issues. Like, I mean, I'm I'm the I don't drink. I'm the only one guy that do not drink. That's why I'm most reliable source of the information on the ecosystem, and I should be most trusted source of everything.
My
No addiction.
issues with alcohol is usually that I run out.
Yeah. For some others, that's also the issue. I guess the Jacob. Like every time I speak to Jacob, he's tipsy. Just like I never can tell he's drunk or he's the way it is. You know?
Yeah, I'm like, he might just seem like he's tipsy, but man, he's
Yeah.
just like that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
he's a unique dude, and I love him to bits.
I I was like the first time before I started the interview, I think Jacob was the first guy I had the interview who's from Cosmos ecosystem, and I didn't know what to expect. So I had 2 hour chat, and I didn't know what the hell we were talking about, but it turned okay. Like, but I didn't know, like because I was not so deeply involved. He was telling me the stories, and I felt so stupid, but I had to keep it on, but and since then I did plenty chats, and now I know what he's talking about, so I
Yeah, I
got better
think
at it.
like you have to be up with his style of conversation to like
Mhm.
fully appreciate what he's, you know, the situation you've gotten yourself into.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's a really smart dude, and he doesn't necessarily like talk in ways that we can follow, if that
Hmm.
makes any sense. You have to
Yeah.
like be, a little bit more fluid in your willingness to sort of like jump around and
Yeah.
you know make yourself sort of more
Yeah.
uh, you know aligned with how he talks.
If you
So
spend enough time with him, you will be fine, so it's
yeah, like if you met him for the first time and had a conversation with him, you might walk away just wondering what the fuck just happened.
that
um,
was my first interview, exactly. I was so fucking tired of
yeah, tired is not a good way to talk to Jacob, but
it. No.
um, but other than that, like he's super knowledgeable, and
Yeah.
if you can keep up with him, you'll learn a lot. So
Yeah.
uh,
There was the on Commonwealth discussion of Juno trying uh to be the WASM hub. Have you seen it by blog creators? And should
I've
it
seen it.
really
I
aim?
haven't fully comprehended it yet.
Yeah, I wonder if you can be a hub, being this community driven chain, right? It's because you are not really objective chain with, like, you rather have some community ideology. So that I was
I
thinking.
I think I think what he meant, and like I said, I haven't fully comprehended it yet. I
Hmm.
haven't read it in depth. I sort of skim read it when I woke up early one morning. Because you have to understand, like when I wake up, a lot of shit has happened, and then
Hmm.
I have to sort of like try and catch up
Yeah.
on all the happenings from the evening. And I sort of wake up at this golden hour of like all this shit has happened, and I've got an opportunity to catch up on it and then talk to people for about 2 hours before everyone starts going to sleep, right?
Yeah.
So there's a very small window for me to read and understand shit, and then like talk to people. So when I read this, I skimmed it. So
Hmm.
I believe what he was talking about was more where Juno is a centerpiece to other permissionless Cosmosm chains
Hmm.
that might be more focused. on other things and potentially shared security to them. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
the gist that I got, right? So there might be use cases for a certain. So, first of all, Cosmos is a horizontal scaling solution. It's not a vertical scaling solution. So that means that as we get more adoption and there needs to be more capacity, right? We scale by
Mm-hmm.
spinning up more chains and then we join them together with IBC. So I think the idea would be that Juno is like a central security hub because of the economic value of Juno, and then they can share security to other Juno spin-off chains that have more specific use cases and a user base, right? So, say if there was like, um, you know, a bunch of apps needed faster blocks, well, they could spin off a subchain that would have half-second blocks for that particular
Mm-hmm.
use case. Um, you know, another chain might need more, I don't know, less gas because they have massive contracts or something like that. You could spin off another chain
Mm-hmm.
to those different strokes for different folks. With Juno being the centerpiece and potentially providing security to those other networks is the gist that I got. That could be wrong. I don't know.
Isn't it a little too small for it? Market cap wise, liquidity wise.
I think at the moment, but there's swings and roundabouts in liquidity and market cap. At the moment, I think we could all agree that we're in a pretty, you know, could be early stages, but we're in like a bear market at the moment, right? It could
Yeah.
be, a few more weeks, it could be a few more months, it could be a year, who knows? But I think if you look historically, um, a lot of chains end up in this situation with low market cap during these types of times.
Mm-hmm.
Juno's only 6 months old. I think if you look at Ethereum or any of those other, top 40 chains, they would be in the same situation in their first bear market. So, it's not down and out. It's a short term thing in my view, but time
Some
will
never
tell.
recover. I want to give you an example that relatively to the same period of time in the previous bull market, the chains that launched in the same period as Juno did will never reach their all-time high again. I don't want to be really shitty, but there was few chains. Um, it's bad example, but I remember like Tron is bad example. Okay, we can make it clear. But the Tron like launched just before the burst of the previous market cap. The Cardano, I also bad example, but those chain were like very explosive, and then they never really got back to that. And the same Juno at the start was very explosive, but never really
Hey, and
broke.
look, that's entirely possible. Like, none of us can tell the
Yeah.
future. But I think, some things that Juno does have going for it is that it's got a really active developer base.
Mm-hmm.
And the core team on Juno, they chase the developer base. Like, they're not just passively sitting around waiting for people to develop on Juno. Like, they're actively chasing after the best of the Cosmos and
Yeah.
developers and Rust people and that type of stuff. So, there are some promising projects there. Hopefully, there become more. We've got Hack Juno is spinning up this week, so maybe that attracts some more people. And we've got the the Terra Development Fund as well, which has attracted a lot of projects to
Mm-hmm.
Juno. And we all know there's like a decent talent pool from Terra and a lot of good projects in Terra. So we're in the early stages of parlaying that talent onto Juno. It could be really good for Juno. It might be nothing. Who knows?
Gi-
Only time can tell.
Give me the game changer app that is being built on Juno. That is like wow. it's gonna generate not millions, not 10 of millions, but billions of dollars in value. I want to say.
Tell me the app in anywhere in crypto that's the billions of dollars of revenue app. There's you know
um,
there's
I wait. I don't know how much Uniswap made. Could be this somewhere close from the fees from the liquidity provider like fees, which
yeah.
actually didn't went like actually they I don't know how was the distribution, but yeah, like Uniswap did probably like decent hundreds of millions at least, or not sure how much Ava made, but there are apps like, well, it's not cash flow, it's the token flow with value, right? But
So those particular apps I don't think are like gonna be the long term
mhm,
value added to crypto. I think they're solutions to swapping tokens around at the time. Um, there's multiple aspects to crypto, right? So
mhm,
the true hero of crypto is actually blockchain itself,
mhm,
not the crypto tokens. And
mhm,
a lot of crypto at the moment is just shuffling that shit from here to there, right?
mhm,
So people find value in being able to, move one to the other and speculate and all the other shit, right? Whereas I don't think that any crypto network yet has truly found what is going to really make the mainstream of crypto. So,
mhm,
if you take, for example, in Australia, we have our Australian Stock Exchange, ASX, and they're developing the new settlement platform on blockchain, right? It doesn't even have a token. It's just
yeah,
blockchain itself is the golden child. Um, the crypto tokens on top of it at the moment are something for people to
mhm,
play with, right?
and
So
speculate on, right?
yeah, speculate, play with. Some do things, others don't. You know,
Yeah,
it's
uh,
what does Bitcoin do? Absolutely fucking nothing. But
yeah,
you can buy it and you can hold it there. And sometimes it's not a matter of what it does. It's more like the trust in the system, which is how a lot of governments operate, right? It's the
mhm,
trust in the system that brings the value, not the actual thing itself. So the whole space is developing. Who knows where it's going to go? I hope that the talent that we're trying to bring to Juno eventuates in like some killer apps. In the meantime, I guess we're stuck with shuffling other tokens around.
mhm. Yeah,
Uh,
like I was like, we had so many ERC20, and everyone was speculating on that. But then, like you thinking what's going on here? It's just the DAO tokens, which like don't really are not even like the revenue stream for the company that has the DAO token. Like for Uniswap, the Uni token doesn't do anything and is unrelated whatsoever to the product or service they provide. And even with Bitcoin, like I woke up like an open Twitter and I saw some like someone cut out the interview with Elon Musk that kind of aligned with what I believe. And I wonder if like maybe that could uh relate to Bitcoin. Oh, this is the sentence. People get confused sometimes. They think an economy is money. Money is a database for exchange of goods and services. Money doesn't have power in of itself. The actual economy is goods of services. So like my belief would be the blockchains that will be most important. Let's say like if Juno will win, it will have to provide the goods and services that Juno use, that people use. If you look at the past 20 years, it's not gold, right? So like that would mean like, hey, is Bitcoin that useful as the store of value? the best like traditional assets of the modern world was like Apple shares, Amazon shares, Facebook shares. Like that's actually was the best business models. Like like we all use that. Like this is like in such a high demand. So that's how I would view. You actually have to bring not just the token, but the goods of services that you just like love using and are superior to the Web 2, I guess, which will be hard.
Yeah, it's really hard to like compare traditional companies with offerings on
Yeah.
blockchain. Um, I was trying to explain to a guy in a pub a while back the value of blockchain, and it's quite difficult to
Yeah.
explain to like people who aren't willing to understand. There has to be like a willingness to understand and trust in the system.
Hmm.
But there is value in being able to make transfer of value itself, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, why people like Bitcoin so much. Um, but yeah, for as for all the other chains, like how many clones do you need of the same thing?
Yeah.
So there's various aspects to like different chains, and for example, Ethereum is like the first EVM chain, right? They created smart contracts back, like, I don't know, 2015 or 16 or whatever it was. And then, um, it's slow, the gas price is high, but the security is way better than any other chain because A, they spend years on upgrades and there's so many eyes on it. Um, and the value of the token means that it's hard to attack. Okay.
Hmm.
You take some other early chains, even like, ones like Cardano and that type of stuff. What do they change? They might be faster. They might be able to have more um, transactions run through the system. They're not worth as much. So the security is on a different level. Um, and, they've all got their pluses and their minuses, right? So,
So how did Juno could succeed in it all? Like you exactly just said, like, hey, they are not. They're just faster, you know.
yeah, well, it comes down to, I mean, you can't just have one chain, is the other thing, right?
Hmm.
So even if, say, Cardano was the best technology out there, right? You can't have everybody use Cardano. It just could
Hmm.
not handle it. The nature of how like blockchain works is that there's a limit unless you have some sort of quantum computer
Yeah.
network that can do everything you need to do and talk to all the other parts of the network and be able to process that and do the signing and everything at the same time, right? It's just not possible to have everybody in the world use the same system.
Hmm.
So when it comes to scaling, Cosmos has a horizontal scaling system, and then how that scales is through IBC, and I think that is a good way to scale. And I think that there will be many users in that ecosystem, and that Juno can play a big part in that
Hmm.
ecosystem as a permissionless contract degenerate playground.
Hmm. Yeah. That's the best utility, right? I mean, like my
Yeah,
my
just
like
think
my favorite.
BSC.
Go on. Oh, BSC.
Yeah,
Um. Well, my thought was like if I could have the 200x leverage platform of Juno, or if people could have, everyone would use it. Like, because that's the like worst thing you could. I don't even think it's possible to do it, right? Like it's very difficult to do even 100x leverage, I guess. But If you could
Agreed,
create this
man.
complete degenerate systems where people can lose money, like that's what drive the adaptation and innovation.
I think it won't be long until there's, you know, leverage platforms on
Hmm.
Juno. So, um, you know, now there's like a lot of the Terra type projects are moving over, like, you know, Loop and, you know, whoever else has signed
Yeah,
up. So they're more like the finance type projects, right? And there's every chance that we're going to end up with leverage and
yeah.
all those other types of things that brings day traders in and that type of stuff. So,
How many developers now are around? Do you know in
oh
Juno?
man, I couldn't tell you. So there's quite a lot that are have come across from Terra,
Mm-hmm.
um, but quite a lot in terms of crypto as a whole, no. But quite a lot
Mm-hmm.
in terms of what we had previously, yes. So,
Yeah.
um, and to be fair, there's not a lot of Cosmosm developers out there at the moment. So there was a big pool of Terra Cosmosm developers, and to be able to snag a handful of them is a good win.
Yeah.
And especially some of the better projects that were on Terra as well. So I didn't. I don't know too much about Terra, the original version. All I really knew about Terra was UST.
Yeah. Did you
um,
use?
oh man, I did. Yeah. Um,
Did you wait it till the end, till it go to zero, or you sold it once it started breaking?
look, man, my story on UST is like contrary to everyone else's story on UST. I was incredibly lucky um, in that as a company, I've got um, like uh, I do like risk assessments every month on various things, and I just happened to catch the fall in the Terra price, um, and then as part of our monthly reassessment, we decided to sell all of our UST based on a falling Terra price, just
Mm-hmm.
because of the risks of how it's collateralized, and that just happened to be about 3 hours before it depegged. So we sold everything. Um,
That's good. Yeah.
yeah, I only had $1,000 in UST, which was just
Mm-hmm.
for paying people on osmosis, but the rest of it we sold literally, yeah, just hours before it depegged. So we were
Mm-hmm.
incredibly lucky in that we happened to sell it at that time. But
So you also
that
sorry, you also never looked into the system that it's like could be a Ponzi or.
I tried to understand it and I couldn't. So um, that's where the risk management process came into it. So we used it for accumulation
Mm-hmm.
because as a business, it's quite a lot of paperwork to just constantly, you know, buy and sell things through
Mm-hmm.
a SEX. You have to explain a lot to the government. So it was easier to have accumulation accounts and then withdraw things all at the same
Yeah.
amount of time or bring things in all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And something that had a relatively good history of maintaining a peg was an easy place to store some value for interim. Um, but like I said, we on a monthly basis would assess how much we had in the accumulation accounts and decide what we were going to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just happened that when we did this assessment, we decided to sell everything that we had based on how we thought the system was going to be able to sustain itself. And I
Mm-hmm.
guess we were just lucky.
Clever.
Um,
Not lucky. Clever.
yeah, well, yeah. Like I said, we did still have some in other accounts.
The answer
Like,
could be like You just needed money for whiskey, so you cashed out.
Yeah. Like when we sold it, all of our UST though, I didn't think that it was going to depeg at all. I
Hmm.
just, thought that there's a chance that it's not, as safe as we. The thing that bugged me about UST was the 20% staking return on Anchor, right?
Hmm.
I didn't think that was real sustainable, and so we tried, and that was a big part of the use case of UST, right? That was a big part of its success. Is that people were parking all of their UST in Anchor
Hmm.
and then getting returns from it. So we tried never to have like too much accumulation in UST over a long period of time, just simply because you can't just create 20% return out of thin air.
Yeah.
So it kind of relied on other parts of the system appreciating, and at this time we had like enough of an accumulated amount and looked at the price that it was supporting it in Terra and decided that if it's falling, we just didn't really want to take the risk of holding UST and potentially being caught up in like bank runs and shit. So
Hmm.
um,
That not in such a big manner, but that could also relate to DAO tokens, highly inflationary DAO tokens, right? Like I mean, it's
yeah,
nothing actually.
high inflation has always like concerned me a little bit,
Hmm.
and there's a place for inflation, but also, it's a double-edged sword in that you see when networks launch, there's inflation and hype, which, the inflation gives the return and the hype of the inflation gives a token value increase, right? And there's
Hmm.
always a point where, if you look at most major network launches, there's a point where it goes up, and then people go on to the next thing, and then it goes back down, and then it sort of finds a level, and then either pitters off or levels out, or they find some usage and it goes up. But what all of these things rely on is that in the future there'll be enough volume on chain to sustain itself through fees.
Hmm.
So make what you will of that, but that's the end game. So inflation is a temporary mechanism to create, um, a income environment whilst the chain develops and people
Yeah.
become users, and then it creates enough volume to be able to sustain itself through fees. So interestingly, you get chains like Kujira who decided to just not do that, um, which is a perfectly valid thing to do, and they've
Hmm.
just gone straight for fees. So their chain is intended to be a high transaction volume environment, being a order book app, right? So you would expect in a relatively short amount of time, if that platform became popular, that they would significantly
Yeah.
increase the amount of revenue through, like transactions and fees from transactions. So
Yeah.
that will be a very interesting.
Where the fees are going to stakers?
Yeah. So if you stake, then the maker and the taker fees get distributed to
Hmm.
the stakers.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. I have to run. Have horse riding. Was really
Okay.
nice. I will edit. Later I will cut out the first part with Jacob and I redo the thumbnail. Thank you for getting on and saving this life.
No
Um,
worries, man. Appreciate it.
Prop 32. You're gonna vote yes or no?
Which one,
Extending validators to 150 on Juno.
mate? So I will vote yes. I don't mind new validators coming on. I have arguments against just the ever increasing validator set size.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I and look, I made the first uh, proposal on Juno to increase the validator set size, right? But I can see it's something that just keeps going on and on and on to keep making the cost of joining the network cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know the answers to, but am concerned about once we get more and more users using the chain, if the load is going to be an issue with a larger set size. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll vote yes to 150. There's plenty of other chains with 150. Evmos has got a bit of traffic and it does okay on 150. Plus, it's got the EVM overhead. So not concerned with 150. But when we start going to like 175, 200, that type of stuff, gonna have to start asking some serious questions.
Yeah. I guess we'll be fine as well. I vote yes because I'm on the bottom. I need to survive.
You need to like get
I
the
need
market
I need the
through you
space.
before.
I need to have place to fall lower in case Jacob redelegate for me.
And
you
it,
know?
like there's some other validators that I'd really like to see get back in the set. So
Yeah.
keen for
Mercury,
that.
I guess. Someone else you want to shout out?
Yeah, Mercury, man. So Mercury's like a like a silent but really good
Yeah.
person, and so
Him
like if
he
you reach out to Mercury for anything, he'll help you, and he's got a lot of knowledge, and he's a really good validator. It's just that there's a language divide, and he's not like massive on Twitter. So,
yeah.
um, and one problem with validating on Cosmos is that you need to not only do the technical side of things, but you also need to be able to create a community and engage with them, which is arguably harder than actually running the nodes itself. So
Yeah.
we are not great at that as well. King nodes, I find like the easiest way to find and maintain stakers is through stuff that we don't like doing,
Mm-hmm.
like you know revenue sharing and NFTs this and fucking token that. And a lot of us don't agree with that method.
Yeah.
And we think that it's circumventing like controls put in there in the network to protect revenue for validators to make it viable for them to continue to do. So we're avoiding anything like that, and it's costing us across all of the networks that we're on. So,
Yeah.
um, time will tell. I think Evmos is the worst for like validators doing things that a lot of long-term validators and multi-network validators don't agree with. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people aren't really willing to, um, go up against them because public opinion and all that other shit. People just want extra value from their
Um
validators in some cases. So.
I did hear from Josh, like, hey, like on Evmos there's quite some bad validators, like going on forums and asking like how to claim rewards. There was some instance like this, like they have no, but then no one really will come public and point fingers at them, right? Because that's kind of like not nice thing to do. um but should probably like manage that to keep the
Yeah, I
to keep the
mean,
balance.
I personally spend a lot of time helping other validators, even if they aren't like um, super knowledgeable and they happen to be on a mainnet. But I'd rather help them and have their delegators not like lose money than let them, fail and get slashed and all that type of shit.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough game for nice people
Mm.
because you can find yourself. I've helped plenty of validators that then go on to do things that we don't agree with, only to
Mhm.
like overtake you in the ranks and all that type of stuff. But
Yeah, I've seen that. I'm like, it can be, it can be seen, some of the, hey, get the airdrops and this, and you look for the value there. Oh, he's in top 20. You know.
yeah,
Um. So okay. I hope we will do it again one day. Um. Sorry for your cold steak. I hope you were able to enjoy this, at least a little bit. Um.
it was quite a nice steak actually, even though it might have appeared that I was
Yeah.
doing way too much chewing. It was actually still quite a nice flavored steak. So
Yeah. Um.
anyway, thanks for taking me on at the
Yeah.
drop of a hat, and
Yeah.
I hope all the listeners here enjoyed it. And yeah, man, happy to jump on anytime. So just
Thank you.
you've got my
Thank you.
Telegram now, fucking Telegram,
Was
yeah.
Yeah, was nice chatting. Enjoy your evening. Don't get too drunk.
No worries, man. Have fun on the horses.
Take care.